one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Ryan, you're going to call roll.
Yes. Hardman.
Present.
Trimble.
Here.
Hudson. Trevelyan.
Here.
McKinney.
Here.
We have 5 members present, Your Honor.
Okay, any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes, Your Honor.
Move approval of the agenda as distributed.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the agenda is approved. Item 2 is Citizens Forum, which is the time for anyone in the audience that would like to address the City Council on any item that's not part of public hearings, item 6 or item 7, new business. And if there's anyone on the phone throughout tonight that wants to share public comment when asked, make sure you hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, hearing no one, we'll move on to Mayor, Council, Manager reports, other entity updates, and we'll start with Greg Edwards from the Greater Des Moines Convention and Visitors Bureau. Greg?
All right if I remove this?
Yep.
See if I can. Looks like it should be good. I don't know if you want to do a
And then I can
slideshow.
just hit this to move forward or whatever.
Yep, just hit the arrow key.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council, City Manager, beloved city staff. I know you were been a tough year. Been a really tough year, as you all know, for all of us in this room, and all communities have hurt. But as you well know, probably the hospitality and travel industry. Pandemic. Just a couple little notes on us. You know, our budget was cut 54% this year. We jobs from our team 25%. We cut salaries. A lot of things were automatically cut anyway. Trade shows, travel, all that kind of stuff. But we were able to absorb pretty well, and things are beginning to look positive. And it's been a real couple positive weeks that I'll talk about here in a little bit. Since the pandemic hit, 364 events, conventions, sporting events, etc., have canceled, with an economic impact of over $311 million to the local economies. Those are just groups that we've been consideration any of the other groups that may have or fairgrounds or the Iowa Event Center and other venues. Our sales results, actually last year, believe it or not, was our biggest booking year ever in our history. New conventions, sporting events, etc. Most of those went down the tubes. A lot of those, though, are still in future years, so those are still going to hang in there. Our board, who always approves our annual goals, reduced our goal this year to 220. Quite honestly, right now, we're probably at about 30% of reaching goal by June 30th. But things are picking up, so I'm optimistic that we'll at least get close to that overall goal. Immediately once the pandemic hit, we restructured so much of what we do. Our partners now move those to monthly meetings, bi-weekly newsletter update on things we're working on, happening. Monitored everything that we know of that cancels to our fellow constituents out there. Facilitated, coordinated, postponed events. Did a lot of promotions, some of those in partnerships with the Greater Des Moines Partnership and other agencies around town, one of which was hashtag DSM Local Challenge. We did a big hotel bond program, buy now, stay later, which was successful. We had 35 hotels around the metro that participated in that. Did a lot, still continue to do a lot on our website, promoting local businesses, shops, privately owned establishments, et cetera. Did our Des Moines Restaurant Week in conjunction with the Des Moines Business Record in late August, which was successful, as successful as it could be, and put out a ton of new videos on recreation, outdoor activities. People that were traveling, that's what they were interested in doing. This is a nice confusing chart that all charts are, but just to walk you through this a little bit. So the red line, or pinkish red, is the occupancies from last year. The blue lines are the average daily rate from last year. The yellowish green line is the average daily rate for this year. And then the black line is our occupancies so far this year as well. You see a lot of peaks early in last year. If you follow that red line, you see the biggest peak was in February, for end of January, early February for Iowa caucuses, which was, we really started off the year very, very strong, and then the pandemic hit. And you see the biggest dips being down in like April and May time period, when hotels were struggling to run 15 to 20%. Most of the larger hotels in the metro, including your two larger hotels out here, were lucky to be over 15% occupied for several months. We've then ticked back up. You can see a peak in like week 28 of this past year. That's actually when we brought in the Nike Tournament of Champions basketball tournament, which was a deal. It was supposed to be played at the McCormick Place in Chicago. They got booted out of Illinois. We were able to capture that here. It was a 3-week event, basketball tournament that brought in about 3,000 people over that time period. Also, the next peak in week 33, interestingly enough, was because of derecho. Had a lot of people move into hotels with power outages. Even saw people from other parts of the state, Cedar Rapids area primarily, come to Des Moines and spend several days at best during that time. The good news is now, if you follow back to the left side of the chart, the black line, we are beginning to see some consistent moves in occupancies in hotels. Still not seeing much in the business travel sector. We don't anticipate seeing business travel coming back until perhaps third or fourth quarter, is what a lot of the larger corporations are telling us right now. Hello?
Mayor, I think people can't hear the audio. Apparently, they're out of the room.
Yeah, I'm trying to communicate with the guys in the booth, but they need to unmute the council guest account on Teams. I don't know if they were getting my message, but.
Okay. Sorry about that to our listening audience. Anyway, so things are looking more positive there. Here's another chart that we share with our board every month on average daily rate and occupancy. Again, looking at last year compared to this year's budget. The top sector is the average daily rate. The bottom is occupancy. Thankfully, we budgeted very conservatively this year, so we were really beating the curve of budget most throughout the year. Now, the next couple quarters, we're looking at a little downturn in that because really, when we budgeted last year, we figured by January we'd probably be through this and things would be getting back to normal, but that certainly wasn't the case. So we're good, though, financially. We have not tapped the reserves. We have our board has approved for us to tap the reserves, but we have not needed to do so at this juncture anyway. Sales strategies, really, we've concentrated a lot on both the ag sector and the sports sectors. Those are both probably the biggest markets that are doing anything right now. Started off in January, we hosted a huge U.S. Harvester show, followed by the Iowa Ag Expo. We've hosted many different sporting events. Still to come in yet are USA Gymnastics. We're working with a big AAU basketball event, which just toured your Recplex here last week. That would be in June. Huge event. big horse show. The Nike Tournament of Champions is going to return this year. We have booked that. The new skate park will open in May, downtown skate park, largest skate park in the world. We'll have hopefully a big announcement in that in the next couple weeks. And we did just secure the Future Farmers of America State Convention. They were they had to leave Ames because of COVID protocols, so we were able to capture that. So we'll have the young Bluecoats back in town here in the next few months. Had a big activity in site visits really in the last couple weeks. Those 4 groups listed here: Sports ETA, which is the National Association of Sports Commissions, big sports show that they do annually. We bid on this in previous years, and I think we've got a good shot at hosting that in the future. Junior high school rodeo will be here in June of this year. The AAU deal that I just talked about, AAU Jam on it, is looking pretty solid. And then actually this week we've got the ethanol national convention in town that are getting booted out of Minneapolis. So, you know, some of the things that we're doing in the state have had some positive reactions anyway to what, at least in our industry. Some of the upcoming events we just hosted last weekend: AAU wrestling. Of course, girls state basketball is in town this week, boys next week. And June is set to be a very strong month. Fingers crossed. Kick off with the Principal Charity Classic. Then we followed by the World Pork Expo. The first Ironman will be in town, which I thank you all for your participation with that very much. Junior high school rodeo championships will be here in June. U.S. Youth Soccer, the President's Cup, will be here in July. And then a big convention actually in early September. The USA-Canada Lions clubs will be in town. Those are just a few of the really big things set to come in. Also shifted a lot of our marketing strategies, pulled back on all our television ads and things like that due to budgetary cuts, but really did a lot in the social media platforms, did a lot of new videos on our websites that I mentioned earlier, and had a lot of great activity because of that. Continuing to inspire people, kind of keep Des Moines on the front of minds when people do decide to go back and travel and things like that. Just a small example of some of the stuff that we've done. We just now recently set up a whole new itinerary deal on our website of things for people to do when they do come to the metro. So a lot of great ideas there as well. Here's some of the results from the marketing, which really we've gotten great results. 14 million new social media views in 2020, which was up 41%. Big interaction with potential visitors. Social media was up 78% compared to the previous year. 550 hours of our YouTube videos have been shared, and 168,000 views of our blogs, which are up 42%. So pretty good results. That may just be a result of people are bored and stuck at home. I don't know, but we'll take them. Regional development, which I'm sure you're all familiar with most all of these, Mid-American Energy Complex, kudos to all of you. We're very anxious to get that facility open and operating. In fact, we've done, I think we've had about 5 different site visits with that facility in the last few months. The skate park, which I mentioned, the Drake Des Moines Schools soccer stadium, you probably read up on that, that's kind of on hold. The new Grimes sports complex that they're going to build, the Market District project, the Central Iowa Water Trails, and again, kudos to you for getting things started on your side of the Raccoon River over in this area. The Johnston Ignite project is underway. The Pro Iowa Soccer Stadium downtown, the Buccaneers Arena at Merle Hay, and the newly announced Valley West Mall project. So really some great things happening. Hopefully Mr. Trimble can find all that money in the state government to help push a lot of these forward. So, but some really, really positive stuff in the future. I think you all agree that tourism will indeed spark the economy once we get rolling again. Putting butts in restaurants and attractions, shopping again, hotels and venues, and supporting our arts and culture throughout the metro. Last year, despite all of the downturn, we were still able to bring in about 47 million in economic impact throughout the metro. Happy to answer any questions or take comments.
What are the reactions you're getting, Greg, when you tour the Rexplex? I mean, that's a massive facility, and I can't imagine there's hardly any that are going to have better facilities and technology than what that has.
Yeah, they've been very, very positive. Yeah, a lot of the things that we're showing the Recplex are like multi-venues, like this AAU Jam On It tournament. They would use the whole Iowa Event Center. They would use your field house at the Recplex. I think they're using the facility up in Ankeny. I just went blank.
All Iowa Tech.
All Iowa Tech facility. So that's just a major thing. But people are very, very impressed with the facility. There's no question. Yeah.
Yeah, and the location close to Jordan Creek Town Center.
You bet.
With the hotels and restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is so close.
They're gonna love it.
Yeah.
I was just at the West Des Moines Marriott last week meeting with them, and that was on the top of their list. They said, we can't wait for the Recplex to get open. Because really, right now, with Wells Fargo and some of your major employers out here that normally are filling your hotels,
Right.
Nothing's going on. So
Right.
it's all leisure kind of stuff right now.
Yeah. Other questions for,
I've got just a couple quick ones. Greg, first of all, I want to thank you for being innovative and coming up with various ways to continue to reach people during this difficult time. All the things that you guys have done to try to keep things going is really impressive, so I appreciate your effort there. Question is, the 8 FTEs that you had to cut, was that through attrition, or did you have to lay people off, or what happened there?
They, actually, 3 of those had just retired, and we did not fill those positions, and the other ones that we eliminated the jobs.
Wow.
We are slowly, we have just, actually, we are interviewing right now to fill one of those positions.
Okay.
We'll probably bring back 3 or 4 of those positions, I would say, by the end of the calendar year this year.
Okay. And then question for you on, microphone's awful. Question for you on the size of the conventions, the average size of conventions that you're seeing come to Des Moines. Could you say what the average size of some of these conventions are? I mean, we may get some of these AAU tournaments and different things because of the Recplex once that's built. And, while it was interesting to see the Grimes Plex go and the Buccaneers, and, it's kind of interesting, we're all trying to do something at the same time and trying to be regional and everything else. I do foresee in the future where we could have between all of the facilities some tournaments, like you're talking about, using the All Iowa TAC facility, using Wells Fargo, using Recplex or whatever. I could see us doing a lot of different sports things out here that are kind of smaller sports things. Obviously, we can't attract some of the things that Wells Fargo does, but when it comes to conventions themselves, what is the average size of the convention that you're seeing, and what is the minimum facility size that you need to have?
Well, that's a great question. They vary so much from, what we would call a large citywide convention that would impact the entire area would probably be in the 3,000 to 5,000 people area. Now, those are maybe 4 or 5, 6 or 7 a year that we'd land something like that. Average, I would say, average good-sized convention would be 800 to 1,000.
Okay.
But you look at just look at the state associations themselves. Some of the larger ones that we host annually: Iowa Bankers, Iowa Realtors, Iowa Association of School Boards. Those are probably 800 or so.
Okay.
Iowa Dental would be in that same boat, kind of thing. So there are a lot of smaller mid-sized conventions, which still have great impact. We bring in the bankers with 800 people, they still impact the metro in one way or the other, yeah.
And do you ever look at facilities out here? I mean, do you take a look at the Hy-Vee Conference Center or anything out here? Or does it just not typically suit your needs based on the size of the conventions?
Occasionally we do take a look at, because Hy-Vee is about the only conference center. Obviously, the hotels we do. The Sheraton would have probably the most meeting space out here currently. West Des Moines Marriott would be next. And they do a fair amount of that kind of business themselves with smaller conferences and things.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again for all you do, Greg. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments.
I do have a question and a few comments. First of all, thanks, Greg, for being here. Appreciate this information. If we could get a copy of his slides, I would like that. So,
Sure.
Ryan, I'd like to get a copy of his slides.
I need
And, there's some phrases out there, shots in the arm. I didn't hear the butts in the restaurant. That's one I wrote down. I'm sure that won't appear on one of your campaign materials, but kind of funny. One time, Greg, I heard that you had a campaign going that people could kind of prepay for stays at hotels. I can't remember what that was. Was that a successful campaign? And it allowed folks during the times where we were retrenching to still invest at a really good rate to stay at a hotel and use it later?
That was our hotel bonds program.
Okay, yeah,
We called it Pay Now, Stay Later.
yeah,
And if you buy $100 hotel bond, and in 60 days, it was worth $150, with the thought people would either buy them for family coming to visit, or friends or whatever, or use it themselves at a later date. Had 35 hotels participate, and it was successful. It wasn't a game changer by any means, but it did help, bring a little bit of cash flow into the hotels for that time period.
okay, all right. Oh, I appreciate your creativity in that. And then I just want to ask a question about the cultural scan of Iowa. I think it's important, Greg, because I remember when NACP was trying to come to Des Moines and there were some things happening and we're like, backing out of that. So what degree do you hear from folks about the cultural scan of how they perceive Iowa to be as it relates to them willingness to attract and bring folks to this community? Is that things that you're engaged in? It's really important for me to hear that because it's not just about the recruitment process, it's about what are you hearing that people feel about our state?
We are extremely engaged in that process and have been for probably 4 or 5 years. We actually hired Mary Chapman as a consultant with us, and we just pay her a fee to reach out to some of these groups. She goes to some of these bids that we do these on. She worked with us with the NAACP. She helped us bring in the Black Legislative Women Conference that we hosted several years ago. I'll use the NAACP as the biggest example. They were high on Des Moines.
Yeah, I know.
Except for the fact that we didn't have very much minority here. But we had everything in place. There's a lot of internal politics, as you probably well know, within that organization.
Very.
And, why we didn't even have a chance to bid on the last go around.
Okay.
But I think we have enough support here. I think we have enough good things happening in not only in the metro, but in the state that, as far as we're concerned, I mean, we don't care who you are, what you believe in, come on in. I mean, that's been our attitude since day one. We hosted the atheist convention on Easter weekend about 10 years ago, So, and I got a little heat on that in the newspaper, but who cares, So, if there's anything, if you have ideas, we're more than open to talk more about that.
Well, and I just want to say, and again, I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it. I think when things are happening at the legislature where people are feeling certain ways about certain things and how people want to treat LGBTQ kind of things and bathrooms and what bathrooms they can't have and stuff, that has an impact. on
It
how
does.
people perceive the city, because I have heard people say, why would someone want to come to Iowa with some things that are going on? Again, I'm not trying to get political. I just really want to just go on record saying what we do as a state and what laws that we pass, it matters how people perceive whether they want to bring business here.
And we do voice our opinions on that through our lobbyists.
Okay.
Because some of those things would affect, as you well know, they would affect things like the NCAA tournaments
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
you know, other big events like that. So we certainly keep an eye on that and voice our opinions with our legislators on that.
All right, well, good, thank you.
All right. Well,
Thank you, Greg.
Yep.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Hey, Greg, just wanted to say thank you for a couple of things. So this past year, as the liaison to CVB, it's been a tough year as we've gone through the numbers. But I want to thank you for helping kind of shepherd the organization because, as you said earlier, like there were a lot of cuts to make. I mean, we were talking about several full-time positions, but the necessity was there because the money didn't come in. It's just we know how this pandemic has affected everything. So I did want to say thank you for your leadership of the organization and a personal thank you from me because we've had a couple conversations and you've helped share about some inner workings of not just CVB, but also just the metropolitan area, how all the cities get along with one another and how we work together to bring up the region together. So I did want to say thank you. And also just a quick report. So this will be the second year that I'll be on the Budget Executive Committee to what would be the right word, to help finalize some decisions that we're making for this upcoming year.
Correct. Yep.
So thank you for that opportunity again, because West Des Moines is such a big part of CVB. And so really, really happy to have a seat at the table. So thank you, Greg.
And thank you, because you've been an awesome board member, communicating with me. You pick up the phone, even if it's 9:30 at night when you're picking up your daughter from band.
Yeah, that's usually what it is. So thank
I
you.
always answer.
You do, and I appreciate it. I still need to give you a call.
No, you've been a great one.
So thank you.
So thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
All
Thank
right,
you all.
thank you. City council reports, Matt?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Kevin?
Nothing this time.
Greg?
I think I just gave my CVB report,
You
so
have my email.
nothing at this time.
Russ?
Okay, quick report. Finance Administration met on February 17th, dealt with a number of issues. One of them is on your agenda for tonight. It's the First National Bank Development Agreement. We had approved that a while back. It's going to be a tear down and redo of that site. It's supposed to be a beautiful development. I think it's a $1.7 million minimum assessment agreement they agreed to. Should be a very nice new bank when it's done, with some pretty cool technology as well for their customers. And then CDBG Housing COVID Funding Round 2. We talked about that and essentially recommended that the funding continue to be used for homeless prevention. So, putting it towards payment of utilities, mortgage assistance, rent assistance. After this gets approved by the council, we will, as a council, have approved roughly $750,000 towards this to try to help people stay in their homes and pay their bills. And I'm really proud of all of us for dedicating these funds to that purpose. Should help a lot of people. And then we also reviewed the FY 2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, otherwise known as the CAFR. There were a couple things that were discovered in our audit. They were very small, very minor. One of those was how we were accounting for federal funds. Sometimes federal funds come through the state and then are awarded to us, and we just had inadvertently marked a couple of those as state funds rather than federal funds, and so we will be making a change there. And then we had just another little minor thing that we need to fix, and that relates to there is a federal list that we need to be checking before we approve certain contracts in the city to make sure that the contractors aren't on the naughty list. And we don't have any contractors that were on that naughty list, we don't believe, but we just need to make sure that we're checking that. And then we also recommended an update to the city procurement policy, which is on the agenda tonight. essentially, all we have to do is reference that we are following state and federal guidelines when it comes to procurement and have that in writing in our policy. We are following that, we just need to have that in writing. We went over the timeline for the city manager performance review process, and that will be starting very soon, and Jane will make sure that she stays on all of us so that we are filling out the review and getting that back in a timely fashion. We're going to do it similar to how we did it last year, where everybody's going to get a chance to review Tom. And then last year was a little bit different due to COVID, so we didn't really have an executive session to have a discussion and a recommendation on salary after that performance comes in. We're going to do that this year. And then we did go over, and Greg and I did make some recommendations for the hotel motel funding for the outside agencies. And that will be coming forward to you. You know, as I think we've talked about before, you know, last year we made some commitments to some of the outside organizations, and then of course COVID hit. So we kind of took it on the chin as the city and wanted to make sure that we kept those organizations whole. So this time, what we had said was if it's an outside organization that's not performing a city function, the example that would be, you know, girls softball. If that wasn't done by that 501c3, then we would have to do that in-house. So those outside agencies could not receive more than 25% of the award that they received last year. And so we went through, we made various recommendations, and like I said, I won't go over all those right now, but those will be forthcoming. And we also, we're sure to make some room if we do end up participating in the Central Iowa Water Trails Regional 2080. And that is all I have for my report, Your Honor.
Okay, Renee?
Will participation in the water trails reduce what funding is available
No.
to
Nope.
organizations? Okay,
Nope, we've made room for that should we happen to join it.
okay, all right, good, that's real important. Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I did have my West Des Moines Library meeting, and there were a couple of things that really kind of discussed. It was the mask wearing, and there was a recommendation that, given where we're at with mask wearing, I guess, for the state, that there be some notation on the signs that exceptions are made for a variety of reasons. So there was a lot of discussion around that. I wasn't aware that that was an issue, but, you know, they did settle on making a notation on the signs that there could be some exceptions. But folks that aren't wearing masks, staff will be asking people to stay 6 feet apart. So I think that while they are making signs for that, I think that the staff need to feel comfortable as well. And so patrons will be asked to stay 6 feet apart if they're not wearing a mask, and I think that's important. And other thing that was shared is that the library will be closed for renovations starting March the 1st. And I'm going to miss that because they're going to be closed for a little bit. The West Des Moines is temporarily closed starting March 1st. It's the final bit closure to finish the renovations. It will last between 6 to 8 weeks as they have lots of work to do. And curbside will be available during limited hours. So they have those things posted. But I want the general public to know, because the library is a major asset that people visit, that it's going to be temporarily closed for renovation. And then the West Des Moines Chamber, as you know, I'm a liaison to that, so I really try to support as many of the activities as I can. I need to tell Catherine to slow down because there's just too many activities. And one of them was the West Des Moines Chamber had a virtual meeting that was called Real Estate and Development, and boy, was that informational. And it had a panel of 5 individuals that really talked about the state of real estate and the state of development given the pandemic and the trends that are happening. So folks from all the companies were represented, and it was insightful. And I took 5-6 pages of notes because, you know, that's what we do here. We are concerned about what's going on in our city and what are the trends and what are the effects. And so, Catherine, that was a very innovative panel of wonderful, wonderful panelists to share their insight. And then I was asked to participate on a panel with the West Des Moines Youth Professional Group. And the subject matter was how to find opportunities, get your foot in the door, and be effective as a volunteer and a board member. So I was very pleased to be on a panel to share some insights with some young professionals on how to get engaged in this community and how to consider kind of some of the things that we do on a regular basis. So again, happy to support the work that is being done by the chamber in ways that I can. So that concludes my report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Tom, any city manager report?
No report, Your Honor.
Okay, with respect to the balance of the agenda, we have another objection letter from MediaCom, similar to the ones that we've had before, and they're raising concerns with items 4L, 4N, 6H1 through 3 as a part of the conduit network forward project that we're working on. So we'll make sure that their objection letter is part of those agenda items in the packet. So with that, are there any items on the consent agenda that any council member wants to pull?
4F.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor. For L and N, which you just identified there in that letter, as well as H1 and J as well.
Okay. All right. Someone want to
I
move
would
the
move
balance?
the remainder.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, those items pass. The first pulled item is 4F. Russ, a motion to approve the public art donation agreement, American Dreamer.
Yeah, I just wanted to pull this to thank Gail, the artist, for her donation, because I think this is a really unbelievable thing that she's doing. The work of art is beautiful, and I just can't thank her enough for the donation that's being made here. So,
Okay, you want to move it?
yep, I would move 4F.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That item passes. 4H1, Matt, is a motion to approve the agreement with the Mid-American Energy Rexplex Automated Online Broadcast Service.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. No, as I was reading through this over the weekend, I saw the agreement that was part of this agenda item, and in particular, a provision that stood out to me is this exclusivity provision. I did have the opportunity to talk to Shane today about this, but I guess I read this and it talks about Live Barn being the exclusive owner of content. Okay. Not sure what exactly they may do with the content, who they may sell it to, or where they may be reposting it or whatever, but talks about there's an exclusive right to broadcast. And this is an agreement for 6 years. And even if we elect to terminate this 2 weeks from now, they have the exclusive right to broadcast from the Recplex. I guess that caused me a little bit of concern because, we may not like the way they're doing things or something different comes on the marketplace, but our hands are pretty well tied, at least for a period of 6 years, to be able to do this. Now, I will say, as Shane shared with me today, this is something that very well could help attract a bunch of folks to participate in events and to sign up and visit the facility. I think that's great. I was just concerned about a 6-year handcuff if we decide a month from now this is not the direction we want to go and we couldn't bring anybody else in to fulfill that. So I don't, he mentioned legal's taking a look at this. I guess as I looked at it, I just thought, geez, it seems pretty onerous. It talks about we recognize that they have the exclusive right to do this for a period of 6 years, even if the venue owner elects to terminate the agreement. So.
And it seems like, Dick, if we terminated it for some type of cause, that they shouldn't continue to have that right. I mean, typically in agreements, you'd see if you terminate something for cause, they lose their exclusivity. So it seems like we ought to come up with a list of things that would cause us to say this isn't going to work. And in fairness to the city, you shouldn't have your exclusive because of these things that you've done which are not right for the city.
Well, if you'd like to pull it, we can.
Yeah, maybe
review
we ought to
Have some
defer on
input.
it and do some more due diligence on
think
it.
so.
Yeah, again, I think this is I think the direction, I don't have concern with providing these sorts of things. I just, It's that exclusivity provision. So it's not like a concern on the attempt to accomplish the goal here.
Well, yeah, and typically the vendor shouldn't be concerned about cause, because if it's cause, they've done something that's been, within their own control. I mean, I thought about when we first went back and privatized our solid waste collection. So we got out of that business and we said, well, but if the provider doesn't do certain things, we've got to get back in that business. And so I think we originally wrote in there some termination for cause and what the outcome would be. So it seems like, Dick, we ought to talk to Shane and some other people to find out what things would cause us to terminate it early, that in fairness to us, they shouldn't continue to get that right.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to see too, like, what the typical length of some of these exclusivity contracts are. I mean, is it typical to have a 6-year exclusive deal? That seems a little bit long.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a 2-year, maybe it's a 3-year,
I suppose it depends on what you get in return too, so you've got to make that judgment call. But yeah, probably more information is better, but.
Yeah. Well, and when we do an RFP or something like that, somebody gets the contract, they've got a contract for 3 years. Well, it doesn't say exclusive, but they've got that contract for 3 years. That's exclusive.
And every 3 to 5 years, even if we like our vendors, we typically go out in the
back out.
marketplace to give other businesses in West Des Moines an opportunity to propose on it.
Yep, to keep them honest,
So-
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, you want to just continue, pull
Sure.
that, or we'll just defer it? for
Yeah,
a
I'd move
couple weeks?
to, continue 2 weeks? Is that appropriate?
Yep,
Okay.
4H1, yep. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second that, but I got another question on this.
Okay.
Dick, was this put out as an RFP, or did Live Barn come to us and say, hey, we want to do this? Do we know?
To be honest with you, I don't have a whole lot of information about this.
It's my understanding, we did not do a formal RFP, but the staff did go out and search out several vendors that offered this sort of service. There were some things that were attractive about Live Barn, one being that there is no cost to the city for the equipment. Other vendors were going to be charging us for the equipment, anywhere up to like $345,000.
Wow.
So also, other vendors would have looked for the city to be going out and getting advertising for this. So clearly, Live Barn was at an advantage to us. Also, Live Barn is a product that is used by many other facilities around the area. So these families are used to subscribing to this product. So they may subscribe to it at a completely different venue, but still be able to use it when they're at the Recplex. So, there were multiple reasons that we went with Live Barn, but we did not do, a real formal RFP process.
We shopped it around, we did our
We
due
shopped it
diligence,
around,
we
yep.
talked to a number of firms, we, did all of our homework. It's just, we didn't do a formal RFP
Right.
process.
What was the length of the contract on the other ones?
I don't know, Kevin. I don't, we
we can
didn't
get
get
that
that
from-
far.
We can get that
Shane
for the
can
next
get
meeting.
that.
Yeah, others.
I'll
We
tell you,
can
these
get
are
that.
great deals because if you have kids and,
Oh, yeah.
well, we got all this, we got soccer, basketball, volleyball, hockey. Those, now kids, we get 40% of the revenue. Plus their family or friends can watch them play if they're from another state too. So I've used this when I couldn't go with my youngest son's basketball games. Not Live Barn, but another kind. But this is we did do, like you said, we did our due diligence, which is probably in some cases is better than do just an RFP. But I think Shane's on the line, he could discuss, but we could be prepared
Well,
to answer these for next meeting.
It sounds like they would have won the RFP had
Yes,
we done a
you're
formal
right.
RFP anyway.
Yes.
It sounds like this was
Right.
the obvious and best choice. I guess the question just is how long,
Right.
the exclusivity. Again, if we award a contract to somebody for 3 years, I mean, it doesn't say exclusive, but that's what it is. You got the contract for 3
Right.
years.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
But 6 years seems to be a pretty long time.
Right.
Yeah.
I
and-
assume
and
that 6
again,
years, oh, go ahead, Mayor.
No, I think depending on their investment, I know, again, solid waste, we granted a 7-year contract because they were gonna buy a lot of new automated garbage collection. So they said, in fairness to us, we need a fair period of time to recoup our capital costs, and we said, we're fine with that as long as you're performing. So if these 6 things happen and we terminate you, too bad for you, you shouldn't have happened. They're like, okay, you know, we can control that. So it seems like there's some version of that here too, where,
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, if all of a sudden they started broadcasting stuff that was offensive to residents in our city, and we said, well, we just can't, you know, then, I mean, they shouldn't have a problem with coming up with a list of bad things that would cause us to terminate them, because it's totally within their control.
I think in there it gives us control on what's put out there, but.
But I think that's why you
Right.
just gotta, to me, you gotta come up with that list that they would say, yeah, you should terminate us if we did that, and shame on us, and we shouldn't ask to continue to provide that service.
Okay, yeah, we can
Yeah.
work
Okay.
with Dick and Greta probably reviewed the agreement. and-
Considering that they are paying for upwards of $1/3 worth of equipment, I assume the 6-year
Right. It's
makes
probably
it
why.
less cost prohibitive for them, because if it was 2 years,
Right.
it would be, so there's that trade-off there. But I'd still love to find out more about it and what you talked about. Come up with a list.
And Sally, I would encourage you, it sounds as though you have done your due diligence. I'd have that documented somewhere in case we ever question who it is you talk to and what kinds of things make this a more palatable option. So,
Yes,
in case we
definitely.
are questioned.
Yeah, thank
you.
you.
Okay, all in favor of continuing 4H1 for 2 more weeks, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? That item's continued. 4J, Matt, is a resolution to approve the interfund transfers.
Yeah, thank you. I was curious in terms of going from the debt service to the hotel motel. I would have thought we would have something come from hotel motel maybe to a different one. So, and Tim, I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to call you today on this.
No problem, no problem. Yeah, this one it's actually correction from a transfer that was done a few months ago where we did pull the amount from the hotel motel tax and then realized that that was an error and it should not have done that. It should have been from the general fund for this year, because we
Okay.
decided, I think, as a budget savings to not tap into the hotel motel tax for just this 1 year.
Okay.
But in communicating up before you would have seen a transfer the other way previous. and
Okay, so this is just a
correcting that.
reversal then?
Yeah. Probably didn't explain it as well as I.
That's all
could
right.
have
It
indicated.
struck me as a little strange, so
No, it's a great question. Thank you.
all right. Oh, very good. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay,
I'd move approval.
Second.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That item's approved. 4L is a resolution to order the construction of the Digital Enterprise Last Mile Conduit Deployment Segment 2, Phase 3, and N is a resolution to approve the wireline crossing agreement with the Union Pacific Railroad Digital Enterprise.
So both of these relate to the conduit, and for the reasons I've abstained before, I'll be abstaining.
Yep, okay.
I'd move approval of, what do we,
Second.
4L
And N.
and N.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And we'll show Matt abstaining to 4L and 4N. Okay, item 5, old business. Item 5A, University Avenue Corridor Urban Renewal Area, City initiated. It's an ordinance for the second reading. And it's on here because we had one negative vote, but I don't believe there are any changes. It doesn't say, but I don't believe there was any changes to the first draft of the ordinance.
No, we
Okay.
took note of the objections from a
Right.
number of you guys about actually, funding the, what do I want to say?
West
Moving of
Transportation.
Westtown Parkway.
Right.
Yeah. Couldn't think of the word moving.
Okay, so there are no changes and we need the second reading.
Yep, move consideration of second reading.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hey,
Any abstentions? All right, Ryan.
4 yes, 1 no, an ordinance providing the general property taxes levied and collected each year on certain property located within the University Avenue Corridor Urban Renewal Area in the city of West Des Moines be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued incurred by the city in connection with the University Avenue Corridor Urban Renewal Area.
Move approval of the second reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
nay.
Any abstentions? All right, the second reading is approved. Item 6, public hearings. We have a number of them tonight. The first item is Item 6A, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider West Grand Business Park, Mid-American Energy Rexplex, 6500 Grand Avenue, amend the plan unit development to modify development and signage regulations for parcel 10, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 12th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 4 yes, 3 were absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the PUD amendment.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council on item 6A. Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed, and this will modify regulations for the building and parking lot setbacks, allow no curbs along the patron drop-off and pickup lanes at the main building entrance, and increase aspects of signage within parcel 10.
Move consideration of the first reading.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, in ordinance numbers 1373, 1812, 2299, 2359, 2360, and 2446 pertaining to plan unit development, district regulations, and guidelines.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? First reading's approved. Item 6B, the council's being asked to defer that by the applicant to the March 15th council agenda.
Move to defer.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I need to abstain because I'm a trustee for Des Moines University.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yep, so we'll show Renee abstaining on item 6B. Okay, so it is continued for 2 weeks. Item 6C, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Community Development Block Grant Program, amended 2019-2020 Annual Action Plan, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 19th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who'd like to address the city council on item 6C. Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We have a resolution to approve the amended annual action plan, which came through Finance and Administration Council Committee.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Again, this money is going to really help people with rent assistance, utility assistance, mortgage assistance, and, I just think it's great that we're doing this, and hopefully we'll go a long way.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That item is approved. Item 6D, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider the 2020-2021 fiscal year operating and capital budget amendment number 2, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 12th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who'd like to address the city council on item 6D. Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. This is a resolution to approve budget amendment number 2, which also came through the Finance and Administration Council Committee.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that budget amendment number 2 is approved. Item 6E, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider issuance of not to exceed $9,500,000 of general obligation bonds initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 16th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience that would like to address the city council on item 6E. Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. This is a resolution to institute proceedings to take additional action, and this also came through Finance and Administration Council Committee.
Move for approval?
Second.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, just a quick comment on this. Certainly, it's a good portion of this particular item is the paving of 88th Street. And I know the folks in Ward 2 are going to be especially grateful once that entire north-south corridor from Mill Civic all the way to Ashworth can finally be paved. So really, really grateful for engineering, really grateful for finance for making this happen, because This is a really, really important thing for the folks who live on the western side of our city. So really enthusiastically supporting this particular item. So thank you.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that item passes. Item 6F, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider issuance of not to exceed $700,000 of general obligation bonds, GCP 1, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 16th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who'd like to address the city council on item 6F. All right, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. This is a resolution to instituting proceedings to take additional action, and this item came through Finance and Administration Council Committee as well.
Move for approval?
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That item passes. 6G, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider issuance of not to exceed $250,000 general obligation bonds, GCP 2, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 16th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now be the time for anyone in the audience who'd like to address the city council on item 6G. Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And again, this is a resolution to institute proceedings to take additional action, and this came through Finance and Administration Council Committee as well.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I would just say, Greg mentioned 88th Street. There's just so many great projects on this list that are going to be done, including, additional flood protection that will be done, pavers in Valley Junction, court renovations at various parks, you name it. The Hawk Beacon, that's another big one at, 52nd Street and EP True Parkway. Just a lot of great projects that this will go to fund, so.
Is there a reason why we just don't do these all as one offering? I mean, obviously the last one was 750, this one's 250, and prior to that was 9.5. I mean,
Legally, you can't.
you cannot. Okay.
Tim Stiles, Finance Director. Yes, the essential corporate purpose, there's no limit on the size of a bond issuance that can be done. And those are generally your parks, flat improvements such as streets, sidewalks, et cetera. Anything that's a general corporate purpose, which is more building related, the maximum that a city our size can issue in one shot is 700,000.
Okay.
And so we have to break them into individual buckets. I think we went easier on the mayor this year. We only had 3 hearings. I think last year it was closer to 6 or 7. So yeah, that's a state code that prohibits us from doing it all in one big issuance.
Okay. Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor of 6G, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? That item passes. 6H, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider digital enterprise last mile conduit deployment, segment 2, phase 2, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 19th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received, other than the MediaCom letter, have we received any other public comment?
There were no other comments, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience that'd like to address the city council on item 6H. Hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed, and we can take 6H 1, 2, and 3 all together.
Move approval.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, and I'll note this came through the Public Services Council Committee as well. So all in favor of 6H 1, 2, and 3, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then abstention? We'll show
Yes,
not
I'll abstain.
abstaining.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 6I, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider the 2021 PCC Reconstruction Program initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 19th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council on item 6I. All right, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed, and again, we can take 1, 2, and 3 all together.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I
just
guess
got-
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Probably a similar question. 6I, is that I or L? This, on Vine, it's going to be done supposedly by September 30th, but I'm assuming this is right by the school. This is by Stillwell, is it not? I just want to make sure, Brian, and you don't have to come up, but just make sure somebody stays on these guys to try to wrap this thing up as early as possible, because the pickup and drop off over there is a complete and utter nightmare. They have what I call the death loop that parents go through to drop their kids off. I don't enter the death loop. This is the way I go. But even this is bad, with people dropping their kids off along Vine, even though they're not supposed to. And so if there's construction in this area come August, which there's gonna be, it's gonna be kind of a nightmare. But as long as they finish up on September 30th, it will be good. If this thing seems to drag on, it's really gonna be trouble.
Yeah, Brian Hemesat, city engineer. I believe most of this project is a little bit to the east of Stillwell. We're starting to look at the next year's project, which would include the bus lane that's included in there. So that's going to include a lot of cooperation and coordination with the school district.
Okay.
So
All right, stay on them. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Kevin, go ahead.
That's it. I was just going to ask that we still had one section to go from 14th to 16th, and you just answered that. So,
yes, we do.
yep. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All in favor of 6I, 1, 2, and 3, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Those items pass. 6J, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider the 2021 PCC Patching and Medians Program initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 19th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council on item 6J. Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And again, we have 2 resolutions and a motion which we can take together, and this came through the Public Services Council Committee.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Those items pass. Item 6K, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Ginger West tree clearing, South Grand Prairie Parkway, Boonville Road, Grand Avenue, and Johnson Creek, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 19th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, now would be the time for anyone in the audience that would like to address the city council on item 6K. Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And again, we have 2 resolutions and a motion which we can take together, and there are no outstanding issues.
So move.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Mayor, I'm going to abstain. This relates to some family ground.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And we'll show Matt abstaining. That item passes. Item 7, new business. Item 7A, Grand Ridge Plat 1, west end of Grand Ridge Drive, approval of preliminary plat to create 7 lots for single-family residential estate development, 1 outlot and 1 street lot, the Lowry Company LLC. It's a resolution to approve the preliminary plat.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? We'll note there's no outstanding issues. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The preliminary plat is approved. Item 7B, issuance of not to exceed $9,830,000 of essential corporate purpose and general corporate purpose, general obligation bonds, city initiated, a resolution to authorize the issuance and levy a tax. And this came through Finance and Administration Council Committee.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that resolution is approved. Item 8, receive, file, and/or refer. We will receive and file all of those items. We're working on appointments, a number of appointments to boards and commissions, a number of which will be effective March 31, which will be on the next council agenda, and then some more that will be effective the end of June. So we will continue to work on those. Item 9, other matters, 9A. Jamie, any legislative updates?
I just want to say she's coming up here. I really appreciate the service of all the board members that are resigning. You know, Sean and Matt, Sue and Jill. You know, it takes a lot to step up and serve and dedicate your time to sitting on one of our boards and commissions. As we were talking before the meeting got going, we've got a lot of great people in this city that want to step up and serve and sit on those boards and commissions, and I just think we're really fortunate to have them, and I appreciate the service of these four individuals.
You know, and even though we hate to lose some of them, there's a lot of wonderful people that are waiting for an opportunity to serve. So we'll bring in some new people with new ideas and new viewpoints.
Yep.
Healthy waiting list.
Yep. Okay, Jamie?
Certainly, just
legislation?
Jamie Letzering, Deputy City Manager, just have one update for you. Last week, there was a subcommittee on a bill, Senate File 402, that we're currently monitoring big tech and political subdivisions of the state. Senate committee recommended a passage on the 24th of February, and expect that bill to be heard by the full Commerce Committee next week. But there's actually a House companion, it's a similar bill, it's not exactly a companion, called Big Tech and Civil Liability is what our lobbyists have labeled that, House File 633. That House subcommittee recommended a passage on the 25th, and the Judiciary Committee would hear that next week. The Senate version, 402, was really aimed at tech companies with a presence in the state of Iowa and cities or political subdivisions of the state that award or grant incentives to tech companies who have in the past or in January of 21 censored online content coming from political leaders. So West Des Moines has a presence of Microsoft, which obviously operates a lot of servers in our community. So right now, we're actually not registered on the bill at all. We're monitoring because the House version, 633, is really aimed at social media sites specifically. So it's a bill that doesn't involve us as municipality. So we're just monitoring, but there's a lot of activity around that bill and that discussion last week, at least. Senator Celsi contacted Tom asking for some information around the property taxes paid by Microsoft within our community to our school districts and our counties. Staff worked and provided that information, so we're just supplying background. I think you all received a copy of the information that was sent out. So that's all I have. This is funnel week, so this will be a very active week. Friday is end of that. So this will be a very active week as we see things rush through. But we won't react to those things. We'll just kind of wait because once they're through this week, they'll just kind of sit for a couple of days. So.
Okay. Any legislative questions for Jamie by any council member? Okay, thank you. And the subcommittee continues to meet every Friday at 8. We've had a few just updates by email, but we continue to be available to have those discussions. Are there any other matters that any other council member wants to raise tonight? Okay, if not, we're adjourned. Thank you.